connection to the past, but also I make an ornament every year to add as far as going into the future, so that there's memories for the family as we go forward as well. And so solstice is a really good time for you to reflect on what you want to let go and how you want to move forward. And it's also a very beautiful thing because it correlates with the Christian Jesus story and having a birth that will, save humanity moving forward. And so it's the birth of the Son again, as far as the Son of God. So it's a really powerful time of the year. And as a nature-loving, pagan-ish, goddess-loving naturopath, I guess, I like to look at the seasons for health as well. And I think that our bodies have been designed or have become something that are very, they resonate with the seasons in different ways. And so right now, we have our winter season, which we don't have a whole lot of sunlight for most of us. Even though I'm in California, we've got overcast skies today. We have different foods that are in season. And so those are different foods that our bodies have become more accustomed over thousands of years to eating during this time. And we're not getting as much vitamin D from the sun. And most of us are vitamin D deficient anyway. And so that can figure into SAD, or seasonal affective disorder. And seasonal affective disorder can cause like the blues when you don't get enough sun. Some people getting tanning beds for that, which can help a little bit, but as you know, they can also increase skin cancer. So that's not the best way to go either. You can supplement with vitamin D. We've talked a lot about vitamin D and how it can help with decreasing your likelihood of getting colds, flus, infections, but also depression is very, it's good to have vitamin D to help decrease depression as well, because it's active in the brain. And that's one of the things that we think contributes to seasonal affective disorder. And so during this time, we kind of want to hibernate. Our bodies want to hibernate. They want to get more sleep, and they want to, be just more internally focused. A lot of the vegetables that are around now are like winter squashes, our citrus. Those have vitamin A. Winter squashes have vitamin A when you've got, or beta carotene. You've got those beautiful golden fleshed squashes. And then the citrus that's blooming all over California is, it's one of my favorite things about living here. I grew up in the snow belt of New York State, where all the lake effect would come over and hit us, and we'd probably get more snow than anywhere else in the world almost. And so I think about my son going out and picking oranges on Christmas and how very different that is from my Christmas experience. But because they're in season, that means that you can get them all over, because we grow them in California. It's the breadbasket of the US. And they're really a wonderful thing to help boost your immunity, because you've got vitamin C in them. And remember, orange juice isn't the same as oranges, because juices hit your bloodstream in a huge dose of sugar that may not be good for those who are pre-diabetic or diabetic. And when you eat an orange, you've got fiber that slows that down, but also you've got some of the white peel and pulp. That's where most of the vitamin C is anyway. And so eating the things that are seasonally available for this time can be really beneficial for your health. The other thing that I've been eating like a maniac during this period of time are pomegranates. Persimmons too, because they're yellow, and so they've got the beta carotene in them, whereas the pomegranates are, they've got a whole bunch of antioxidants in them. I eat the seeds right down, because seeds, remember, are everything the plant needs in order to have a new life. And so they're super dense with nutrition. And POM juice is great. It upregulates PON1, which is a good a genetic SNP that will help you detoxify. It's antioxidant. It's beneficial for your cardiovascular system, your brain. And so pomegranates are great to have during this time of year as well. Plus, they're delicious. I just chew the seeds right down. I put them on salads, and they're seasonal. So for the most part, they're going to be better than you would get them during other times of the year. Because remember, when you have a seasonal fruit, that means it's not shipped 10,000 miles from below the equator or across the world, and it doesn't have to be picked before it's ripened. When different corporate farms pick things before they're ripe so they can be shipped, they often will expose those fruits to either dyes or methane gas. And that's why when you have, when you get fruit that's out of season, it just doesn't taste the same. Some of you may remember that I decided that I was fated to be a doctor when I was on a beach in Greece, and I was having a fruit plate. I was 22 years old, I think. And I couldn't believe the difference between the fruit there from what I was eating in the States. And I thought to myself, gosh, I can't believe we feed this to our loved ones, our children, our parents, ourselves. How are we going to make our bodies work optimally if we're eating something that's kind of like cardboard or styrofoam? And so eating seasonally, I think, is really important, because not only for taste, and I'm a foodie and I don't want to eat nasty pithy peaches or pithy oranges that just have been picked before they're ripe and then sprayed orange to make people think that they're ripe and able to be eaten. I want to have good, nutritionally dense foods so that I can build my body optimally, but also tantalize my taste buds at the same time. And so those are some things that are in season. And they're also good for just supporting your body during this time. So let's talk about solstice a little bit again, because I think it's an important thing. Even if you aren't religious, or you aren't spiritual, or you like setting up a Christmas tree, or you're Christian or Jewish or whatever, I think that because of the nature of when those religions were brought about, and the tales were told, and the spiritual lessons written down, the people during those periods of time were very in tune with the seasons. And so we have ceremonies that are built around the lunar year, the solar year, as well as other things that happen with the elements and the way that our world turns. And so you don't necessarily have to believe in any of those things, but if you want to make the most out of this time of year, just because everybody and their brother decides that January 1st, they're going to get healthy, and they're going to make resolutions, and they're going to change their life for the better, and they're going to set all of these goals. And that's a wonderful thing, because that's where our year changes, right? But now is a perfect time to get in line as far as what do you really want to change? Because this is a day where you can let things go. And because we're going to be coming out of the dark and into the light, and starting anew. Right now, you've got 10 days to figure out what you want those resolutions to really be before you can start really deciding. And most resolutions, get ignored, or, they last for a month and it doesn't really go any further than that. So one of the things I'd really like to recommend now, especially during this period of time, is to meditate and give yourself some quiet. Some of you may know I've talked a little bit about how my life has blown up, and I'm going through a period of time where I'm currently having to basically just let go of just about everything. And it's very cleansing right? Because I'm, giving away all sorts of things to Goodwill and, just reevaluating relationships, really reevaluating how I want to live. And I've recognized that I really don't know what exactly it is that I want. And I think that that's probably a theme for a lot of people. We get stuck in these patterns of, what's expected of us. I spent my first, God, 30 years of my life doing what was expected of me, or what other people wanted me to do, or what I thought was what I should do. And it's really terrible to should all over anyone or anything, because it instills this sense of shame if you don't do it, or failure if you don't do it. And neither of those are emotions that I would really like to have in my life. And so the way that I've been taking this period of time is by being quiet, giving myself 5 to 10 minutes of just reflecting on how I'm feeling, what I'm doing, and what really brings me joy. And I've been journaling about it. And so in journaling how I want to move forward with my life, it always also gives me, a pretty good juxtaposition of what I don't want to have in my life. And so with those things, you can write down what it is you want to let go. And again, today's the perfect day for it, because we're moving into something new, and you can let go of what you no longer serves you and what you no longer need. And so, what do you want to let go? I write those down on pieces of paper, tear them up, light them on fire, and flush them down the toilet. It's a really simple ceremony, really, that I think gets the point across to my subconscious as far as what I don't need to have in my life. And that can be patterns in relationships. It can be worries that I have. It can be just behaviors that no longer serve me, or parts of responsibilities that I have that I no longer wish to either have or have them worry as much as they have been making me worry in the past. And so you may have your own, obviously you're going to have your own reactions to that, but I challenge you really, because it's very easy to say, I'm going to go to the gym five times a week as my New Year's resolution, get a gym membership that you pay $100 for a month for 2 years and go 3 times. That's easy, because it's something that, you know that you need to exercise. Great, we all do. Most of us don't exercise as much as you're supposed to. The FDA has stated that 80% of people in the United States do not exercise the bare minimum recommended by them, which is crazy. That might be CDC, but one of those health-related associations. I should get my facts straight. But we aren't exercising, and making a resolution to do so only lasts so long if you do not connect it to why you need to do it or why you want to do it in the first place, in a reasonable way and in a true way, so that you are motivated internally rather than externally. External motivation is great when a parent tells you you need to stop eating, or you need to eat your vegetables before you can have a cookie. That's external motivation, because someone else is making you do it. Now, when we get to the point where you want to eat your vegetables and then may or may not eat that cookie, but you're eating your vegetables because you understand why you should eat your vegetables, that's internal motivation, and it's much more powerful. But it's also much more difficult to attain, because most of us are powered by external motivation, where you have to pay bills, you have to do certain things in your life because there's pressures outside that seem like fires that you need to put out. time after time after time. And that leaves our internal self really starving for recognition, and starving for sustenance, because we're so busy putting out the fires in other places. Most of us do not pay attention to what it is we really want, who it is that we really are, and how we want to live our lives as we go forward. And so I really want to invite you to take this opportunity to examine that, because that's what's going to change your life and really help you live well. And there's an element here, because I do call this the Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well, because nobody's perfect and I like to have fun. And sometimes the things that aren't necessarily good for us are fun, but that's also part of what I've had to let go of. I love wine, love it, and cheese, right? And recently I've had to let go of eating both of those. And I was resistant to it for quite a while. I've been having wine lately, and my face will flush so red, even if it's organic from, not the United States, because that's what I first thought. So I used to drink California wine. I'm that Californian that goes into restaurants and says, do you have any wine that's not Californian? And I get dirty looks. And, often I don't have that option, because the Californians will give almost me an immediate headache from all of the sulfites and preservatives and probably glyphosate and other pesticides from them. So then I moved to organic, and it didn't matter, because there's still glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup in most of those California wines anyway, because you can't escape it. And then I decided to go for European and Argentinian and New Zealand, Australian wines, and still I get this terrible flush through my face. And it's not really that bad, but if that's what it's doing to my vascular system, if that's the inflammation that's happening where I can see it in my face, that means that it's probably not doing me any favors deeper in my body, right? Because if you can see it's happening outside, you know that it's happening on the inside. And so that's one of those things that I love that I had to let go. And I had internal motivation to do so, because I recognized how it will be better if I don't. So as far as living well, let's really figure out what it is that you want to have to live well, and connect on an emotional level with it, not just a logical level, right? Do you need what is it that drives you? What is it that you really love to do? This is the perfect time to examine it. And there's no better way to do it than give yourself some time to look at how you feel. And this is the most wonderful time of the year, or it's supposed to be, right? I mean, a lot of people have grief that comes from this time of year for loss, or, loved ones that have crossed to the other side of the soul's existence, and so they aren't here in a body form, so you can't hug them or give them presents or whatever it is that you do to show people that you love them. And so there can be grief and stress too. God, like my Thanksgiving was so damn stressful. I had to leave early. And so there's a lot of emotional stuff that happens during the holidays. And so instead of having it be negative and make us eat more Christmas cookies, let's shift that into something where you're actually going to be seeing, why do I feel this way? And look at what makes you happy. Do you even know? Because I'll tell you what, it's probably not a new Louis Vuitton purse. That's a Band-Aid. And at Naturopathic MD, and the whole philosophy that we have is we don't want to use Band-Aids on things. And the emotional side of our lives, that's where we use the most Band-Aids, because it's easy. So now, don't get me wrong, gifts are my love language, right? So you've heard of love languages. There's 5 of them. it was a book that was written a couple of years ago. I can't remember who wrote it, but the 5 love languages, I think, break down communication and relationships beautifully. And so the point behind it is, however you show people that you love them is usually the way that you understand their love back. And when people don't have the same love languages, it can lead to a miscommunication as far as how you feel loved or not, or they feel loved or not. Now, gifts are one of my main love languages, and so, but I love gifts that are handmade. I love gifts that are thoughtful. I'm not really one for an Amazon gift card as much as I love Amazon, and probably until the end of time. Maybe that's another thing I should let go. Because that element of consuming and materialism that is through this culture with, our, Christmas insanity and setting up unrealistic expectations for children, as far as like this magic person that comes and throws them toys for being good. I think it's an element of how our culture is really very sick. And so even though I love gifts and it's one of the ways I show people that I love them, there's a lot of ways to go about that. And so that communication technical difficulties. Welcome back. So the point about the love languages that I wanted to bring up as far as communicating how you feel, the more that you are in tune with your emotional needs and wants and understand how you're communicating them to others in your family dynamic and relationships, is a really good way to start understanding how you can heal relationships, but also how you feel about things. How do you want to live your life? Do you want to live it stuffing yourself full of food and drink so that you don't feel anything? Do you want to keep buying things to fill that gaping hole inside of you that can't get filled by anything else? Well, it can get filled. Say hello. And the love of a dog is one of those ways to fill it. Think about how we can love just so extremely something that we can't even communicate with, right? Mischief's love language is acts of service and opening up sardine cans, and probably touch. Maybe gifts for treats. What do you think? Oh, that was the word. So animals are really simple, right? They love unconditionally. We're not quite so simple. But the whole point of this is, if you can understand how you need to be communicated with and start implementing that into your own relationships and lives, that will help you to understand how you really feel about things. And that can help you understand what it is that you want to bring forth in your life. And create resolutions. Let the old stuff go. Create what you really do want in your life and think about it. I'm a hypnotherapist. My friend Sophia teases me about how I have all of these different things that I do, and I should need a costume for each one of them. And so we're working on that photo shoot, but it's really funny because we'll have conversations and I'll be like, oh yeah, I've been trained in how to do that. And she'll just laugh and say, well, yes, of course you were. So I'm a hypnotherapist, or have been trained in hypnotizing people. And all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. And it really is very, very close to guided meditation as well. And the secret to that is to focus on how you feel. What makes you feel happy? What visualizations do you have in your mind that help you to feel loved or excited or joyful? What is it that brings about those feelings in your body in a true way? And it's not, I really love eating the minty mallows from Trader Joe's. Well, yeah, they're pretty good, but do you really love it? Or is it covering up something else? So before we move forward into how to survive the holidays and not putting on 15 pounds of weight, we're going to do a quick break for our sponsors for the show. We'll be right back.
Do you remember the last time you felt healthy and energetic? What would you do if you could regain your health and feel good again? Enjoy spending time with your family? Take a trip. Get back to being active and doing the things that you love. Naturopathic MD can help because we practice natural, functional, logical medicine. Have you ever cut yourself and taken a prescription to stop the bleeding, but the cut stayed open? No, because your body can heal itself. Cuts are usually easy to heal, but chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and digestive problems need the expert support we can provide. Are you ready to take action and get your life back? Sign up for one of our elite concierge programs today.
Are you tired of taking massive rips off your water bong and almost hacking up a lung? Dr. Wild has developed an all-natural antioxidant water pipe additive designed to smooth smoke and add titillating flavor. Add 30 to 90 drops of our 100% natural, antioxidant-rich, essential oil-powered pipe potions to the water in your bong and smoke smarter. We have 6 sexy flavors to choose from. Some are soft and sweet, and others are powerfully pungent. We like to think of them as flavors with benefits. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram to learn more about our Pipe Girls.
All right, and we're back. So I feel really strongly about this episode today, and I think that with my own experience as I'm moving through this time in my life, which feels so incredibly seasonally based to me, just because of letting go, like a tree, right? With fall, letting go of the leaves, and then just kind of going into a meditative hibernation state, and then trying to figure out what it is that you really want in your life, so that as we come forward into spring, that can start coming out in your experiences. And you can not only make resolutions, but make them so that they're gonna stick. And if it's something that you really want, have the bravery to go forth with it, right? Fortune favors the brave. And I guess as I get older and I lose loved ones, it's really it's touched me very deeply as far as how I'm living my life and who I'm living it for, and whether I'm really happy. And am I surrounded by people that make me happy? or that I feel happy around, because remember, nobody makes you feel anyway, right? That's your choice. It's your experience. It's your reaction. And you have a lot of control over your reaction to other people's actions. So do people stimulate you to be happy or help you experience the feeling of love and laughter and closeness? Or are your responses the opposite of that? And pay attention. So many of us just go to work and do the jobs that have a nice paycheck so that they can come home and afford to live in a house that they think they should live in because of the pressures of society telling them that they should live there in that suburb and they should wear those clothes and those shoes, no matter, think about, I tell an associate of mine this quite often. I'll say, we are in the top 1% of the world as far as how we live. Just thinking about other people not having a roof over their heads, or less than 50 cents in their pocket, no clean water to drink. If you saw my closet, you would be appalled. I'm a little bit appalled by it because of the materialism and my love of cowboy boots. And so while there's things that, I'm not perfect, that's why this is the Bad Girls Guide, right? But there's a lot that we don't need. You don't need to buy things to fill that hole inside of yourself if you fill it with something that matters to you. And I think that we've all been born to create a life that brings us joy and helps serve others in love. And so I just want to move on from that, because I'm trying to make the connection between how you feel and the emotional bomb that can go off around the holidays that can trigger people to have behaviors that aren't necessarily good for them, and in a way unravel what those are. And I think that meditating and really looking at what you want, and at this point I'm still trying to figure it out. I have only a couple of things where I'm like, yes, I definitely want that in my life, and I definitely want that in my life. And I don't know how that's going to pan out quite yet, but I do know that those are things that are important to me that I don't want to sacrifice on. And you know what? Cowboy boots and cashmere sweaters didn't make that list. As much as I like them, they are something that I've been using to suppress what it is I really desire. And so I invite you to explore your feelings. And it's, honestly, it's probably the most difficult thing that you'll do, because once you unlock that and recognize what it is that you want to do with your life, it's like getting hit by a bolt of lightning, and it's exhilarating and it's terrifying. And yet I hope you have the courage to move forward with it, because if you do, your whole life will shift, and with it, your health will shift. I have a detoxification program on naturopathicmd.com that I recommend every single person do, because the way that it's set up, you can't detoxify your body physically without detoxifying emotionally and mentally. It's incredibly clarifying for all of those things. And it's a beautiful way. And even though December would be a really good way to do that, because then you would be ready for moving into the new year with all of this new energy, we do it for the new year instead, because, well, as bad as I am, I don't like to ruin Christmas and Hanukkah and I got a bad enough rep as it is. And eating with loved ones is an important piece of our ceremonies and our enjoyment. And so I don't want to ruin that. But doing that detoxification can help clarify what it is for the next steps. I've seen people lose jobs or leave jobs. Sometimes you can decide that you want to leave, and sometimes the universe will give you a kick in the ass and it gets lost. And either way, it's probably for the best, especially when you're coming from a conscious place of, does this thing that I'm doing bring me joy? Or is it just something that I do because it's easy and it checks a box, and I can go home and watch 5 hours of Netflix and then go to bed and wake up and do it all over again without an ounce of joy in my life, but at least I'm not scared, right? Doing things that are outside the norm can be quite frightening. However, they're really worth it if you're letting your inner self be nourished. And, becoming someone that you wanted to be before you were born, and living your life to the fullest with adventure, rather than just trying to anesthetize yourself from this boring life that you're living that maybe you don't fit in with anymore. And I've seen tremendous things happen with people as they do the detoxification, because it stops you from smothering the inner voice of your spirit and your desire so that they can be heard. And so I really recommend doing it. And you can go to naturopathicmd.com, contact us, and we can get you set up so that you can move forward with it. Make sure that there aren't any issues why you shouldn't do it. 0.01% of the world may not be able to do it, but it's a supplementation protein, vegan-based protein for the most part, unless you're allergic to rice or peas. And so you get plenty of protein, and it supports your phase 1, phase 2 detoxification process. And I think I might do it in January myself. I probably should walk my walk. Okay, I will. And it's not necessarily an easy thing, right? So it's 30 days of eating very cleanly, taking your supplements, sleeping, and it will change your life. And it's exactly what I need. And did you just hear that resistance that I had? Why? Because why is it so hard for us to take care of ourselves? Why is it so hard for us to really embrace who it is that we want to be? I don't know. I see changes happen in my patients and my clients over and over and over again for the better, where they're revolutionized in how they feel. And yet I have resistance doing it for myself. Why is that? So I'm going to commit to do it. And if you want to do it with me, I guess I'll probably be putting it up on Instagram, because that would be the smart thing to do. And, maybe tweeting about how the experience goes. So if you want to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, we can all do it together. I think that'll be fun. I'll probably start after I get back from San Francisco, so maybe around the 3rd of January or the 4th of January. And let's do it. Let's move forward and really digging through what it is that we want to do and get our lives on track, so that we don't waste the next 30 years of our lives doing what other people expect for us to do, and then realize at the end that, we never really made ourselves happy, or we have regrets. Shit, I don't want regrets. Do you want regrets? I don't. So let's do this. And also, one of the great side effects or benefits of a detoxification is, if you need to gain weight, you will. Now, I might be the only one, listening that really needs that, because remember, I don't stress eat, I stress fast. And I've been in a tremendous amount of stress, so I've lost quite a bit of weight over the last few months. And so I may actually gain weight in a healthy way. Plus, there's going to be putting on lean muscle during this period of time will be part of it. But if you need to lose weight, people regularly lose 10 to 25 pounds during that month by stabilizing their blood sugars, lowering their inflammation, detoxifying toxins or toxicants that are slowing metabolism or using up minerals and cofactors or are hormonally active and so are holding on hormone weight. So most people will lose weight, which is really, really nice, especially since the holidays, people regularly pack on 10 or 15 pounds. And that's what I want to talk about now. And it might be a little bit late because it is the 21st of December and you probably have had most of your holidays, but we are going into that big stretch of New Year's Eve and Christmas. And so let's talk now about how not to put on 15 pounds of holiday weight. Because people regularly do it. And if you want to listen to this, next year to remind yourself, I think it's a good plan because diabetes and the effects of diabetes, including cancer risks and cardiovascular heart attack and stroke risks from having too much weight and elevated blood sugars, that's what's killing us. And so while the holidays are the most wonderful time of the year, if you pack on 10 or 15 pounds every single season, that is not benefiting your health long term. And now I will tell you, I love holiday food. Obviously, who doesn't? That's a big that's a big confession. And I do eat holiday cookies and I do eat sweets. I was at a restaurant when I was traveling with some very health conscious friends of mine, and they saw me put sugar in my coffee and cream, and they're like, thought I was crazy. And you know what? It's all about balance. I don't eat bread. When they bring a basket of bread to my table at a restaurant, I send it back. Unless it's something really, really freaking special, which most of the time, guess what? It's not. A burger bun has as many calories as a creme brulee. Now, do I want a burger bun or do I not want a creme brulee? That's a really easy decision for me. I will go creme brulee every time. And that's the trick. If you want to eat sweets and it's the holidays, don't eat bread, don't eat potatoes, don't eat grains because they're empty calories anyway. And you know what? Unless you're a marathon runner or an elite fighter or athlete, you don't need carbohydrates anyway. You don't. Especially if you're overweight. The craziest thing in diabetic management for me that still just blows my mind that people can even say is that diabetes is a genetic disease. No, it's a disease of diet. And you may be more likely to get it if you're genetically prone to it because of different metabolic factors, 100%. But diabetes is from having too many carbohydrates and sugars. If you read labels and you're looking at a nutrition label, don't eat anything with over 10 grams of sugar. Don't. If it says total sugar is 10 grams or higher, if it's higher than that, you could probably get 14, 15, okay every now and then, but anything over 20, don't touch it because you know what? If it's processed food that has one of those nutrition labels on it, it's probably not high in fiber anyway. And those just spike your blood sugars and they cause damage in your body, blindness, impotence, cardiovascular disease, microvascular problems that can lead to amputations, kidney failure, fatty liver, liver failure, dementia, Alzheimer's. It's what? For bread and rice? Really? They are some of the most flavorless things out there are those carbohydrates. And so potatoes, rice, pastas, bread, corn, God. Yes, delicious because we have effects that happen in the brain from those carbohydrates and they can be highly addictive. There was a study that showed that Oreos, well, no, not Oreos directly. That was the headline they used. They said that sugar was more addictive than cocaine and heroin. And yeah, because it changes your brain chemistry. So if you want to not put on that weight and still enjoy the best things about the holiday, do it reasonably. Most of us eat for emotions anyway. I mean, if you really eat consciously, which is, I love the whole idea of conscious eating, because rather than just sitting on the couch with an open bag of cheesy poof, stuffing it into your mouth while you watch Burn Notice on Netflix, trying not to think about how many ways you are unfulfilled and unhappy and not living the life that you dreamed that you would live when you were young and dumb and full of whatever the rest of that sentence is. What kind of a life is that? And you're just suppressing these emotions. So when you eat consciously, and eating consciously helps you eat your, chew your food more so that you can digest it better and absorb the nutrients anyway. And if you chew 20 times and really taste it, I went out. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I went out when I was in Austin with two dear friends of mine, and I decided that I was going to have an adventure. And we went to a sushi restaurant, and I don't eat a lot of sushi for several reasons. Tuna is not anything anyone should eat. Swordfish is not anything anyone should eat just because of the toxic levels. Salmon, especially Atlantic salmon, farmed salmon, is so high in PCBs, it's almost fire retardant itself. And so I don't eat a lot of sushi because there's like the whole idea of parasites and toxins and whether it's fresh, like if you can smell the fish, So we went to this amazing restaurant in Austin, and we had the chef's flight, right? And it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life because I was on a culinary adventure. I was out of my comfort zone. I was eating things that I'd always felt a little bit iffy before. Remember, this isn't like to go sushi. This is real high quality fish. And that made it worth it to me. That was the balance. I ate fatty tuna and I loved it. And I ate oysters and I loved it. But it's not something that I do all the time. And I also, the point I'm telling the story is because through much of it, I was moaning and dancing because it was so good. And having that experience where you're actually paying attention to what you're eating, I just want you to pay attention to life as it goes forward. How do you feel, really? And not anesthetizing it with antidepressants or painkillers or food or buying things or, whatever it is that you do to help you not feel this inner urge for you to just go and be who it is that you at your heart and soul want to be and the life that you want to live. Clear that away so you don't have to stuff it with Christmas cookies. So you don't have to stuff it with, hoping that you get all of those, presents that were on your list. And if you don't get them, then, nobody loves you or you're not going to be happy. Stepping away from creating that sort of experience for our children and our grandchildren. Now, believe me, two of my great joys in life are feeding my kid and getting him things that he's going to love. But I'll tell you what, there has to be balance because at this point, with all of his family and extended family and he being the only one, the only grandchild, he's got more toys than my brothers and I had combined for our whole lives, and he's not even 4 yet. And it's set up where he doesn't appreciate anything. And he just expects to keep getting these, toys, and he's become addicted to the getting rather than the having and the enjoying. And so we are going to have to, reset that and revisit it and, try to help him to understand life a little bit better and appreciate it in different ways. And that's going to be an educational experience for all of us. And then the food is another piece. So, and I know that he's only 4 and all he wants to do is eat, carbohydrates anyway, but setting him up so that he understands when he eats wheat, he gets a rash. And when he eats dairy, he gets phlegmy. Poor kid, I know it sucks, but at least he doesn't have, he's not on meds for ADD, ADHD, and he doesn't have autism, and he's, doesn't have eczema or allergies or need a nebulizer or, albuterol. So, these things we're trying to set him up for success long term, and he's 4, right? And he has God, I wish I could help every child on the face of the planet with the information that I have, to help insulate their health for the future by decreasing their exposure to the crazy shit out there that's going to decimate their immune systems and their lives. But there's also this emotional piece that we have to care for as well. And that's what we want to do at Naturopathic MD. We want to care for all of the different pieces of you and help you be able to enjoy fudge and cookies and Christmas cookies at the same time as recognizing, why are you eating them in the first place? Are they really that good? I mean, I make just about everything that we eat besides, my secret favorites from Trader Joe's that we won't talk about too much here. Those peppermint JoJo's, man, they are my weakness. And I haven't had them in a couple of years because they make me so sick. So if I can do that, then there's hope for all of you. God, those things are good. So with the emotional eating piece and with understanding why you're eating in the first place comes tremendous freedom. And actually just taste the stuff. Just taste it. We went on the Polar Express train ride they have a train museum here, and you can ride an antique train, and they have dancing chefs, and Santa comes and gives a bell and all of that. And they gave out snickerdoodles and hot cocoa. And I tasted the cookie, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have a cookie, and I'm going to celebrate. It's the holidays. I tasted it, and then I just let it go because it wasn't even worth it. And I want to help you to recalibrate what is really worth it. And if you feel like you're eating emotionally, I can help you stop and support you through that process. And if you feel like you're stress eating, then I can help you with that as well. But you have to really connect. Why is it that you're eating? And sit there and taste it. Don't just shovel it into your mouth because it serves an oral fixation and it helps you, feel like you have a little bit more control. Really taste it. Is it worth it? Most of the processed food out there is not worth it. And, most of the fast food and the restaurants out there, it's not worth it. I have been eating, I used to eat out a lot because I don't like doing dishes. Even though I love to cook, I think cleaning is a complete waste of my time. I like to outsource it, that's another story. So we were eating out a lot and went to beautiful restaurants. And I live in a place that's a farm to fork capital of the country. And yet I was getting chicken that tasted like it was styrofoam and was crunchy. Chicken breast that's crunchy, you got to think about what is wrong with that food. And so it's not even really worth eating out anymore for me because most of the time I don't get good, high quality food. Sometimes I do. And believe me, I put a hurting on it. And there's certain restaurants that I go to where I know the food is high quality and they have organic options or they have, a ranch associated with them. And then in that case, it's worth it. But I just want you to take this time around this holiday season in this beautiful place where you can recreate your life and recreate your existence and connect to things with passion and really get to know yourself as we step forward into this new year. And I want to invite you to do it. And I invite you to do the detoxification with Naturopathic MD and me.com. So it's naturopathicmd.com. You can follow us on Instagram, friend us on Facebook. That's where we'll be running a lot of the detoxification through, and we can help you change your life and help you feel like you're living something that is a dream rather than something you're just trying to suppress. So this has been Dr. Heather Dowen with the Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well, and let's live well this next year. Happy holidays, and I'll see you on the other side.